and they're now threatening Iran. They understand that this is antithetical to the maintenance of a Republican system of government at home. Empire is antithetical to a republic. And if they attack Iran, which they are seriously threatening to do, they could set off World War III. And that's what they're preparing for. Last weekend, and I'm not exaggerating anything, last weekend they sent a U.S. Aircraft carrier strike force with French and British ships through the Strait of Hormuz, basically daring the Iranians to attack them, and fully prepared to set that war off. So we really hang by a thread here from a world war. If we attack Iran, that could very easily pull in Russia and China, and both Russia and China have stated publicly that a U.S.-Israeli attack on Iran would threaten their vital national security interests. So they're preparing the groundwork here in America for massive resistance. Yeah.
That's right, because they're going to go after their opposition, even if we don't stand up to them during the war, as all tyrants do. I mean, they're following an exact blueprint of what's been tested and worked before. But looking at this, being a historian, also being a lawyer, knowing and studying the psychology of these people, what concerns me most, Mr. Boyle, is that they're not, they've got a lot of experts that are really smart advising them on pieces of it, but the people actually giving the general commands and orders do not seem to be as connected to reality as even their more informed minions. And, I mean take Corzine.
That's one thing we can hope for, that they are so arrogant with power there in Washington, D.C., that they don't really understand what's going out here in the hinterlands with the people. They don't understand the Tea Party movement. They don't understand the Occupy Wall Street movement. They really don't understand that. And I think that's correct. I mean, look at Obama. Look at Romney. Romney and I were classmates together at Harvard Law School, section mates. We took all our first-year courses together. Once you get into these so-called elite programs, like at Harvard, you just get immediately co-opted, brainwashed, and totally out of touch with reality. So that is the one thing I think that is in our favor. And look at Romney campaigning, Obama campaigning. They don't have a clue.
Well, that was my next question to you, though. That was my next question, is that look at Corzine, who made a 40-to-1 bet with other people's private bank accounts and then doesn't get in trouble when he gets caught lying, and he's the main White House financial advisor. I mean, I know we can hope they follow.
Larry Summers is even worse.
Yeah.
Summers was fired by Harvard because he publicly stated women are dumber than men when it comes to math and science, and then if you take a look at this new set of articles just coming out or memos just coming out of the New Yorker, he was the one who pioneered the rape of our economy for his buddies on Wall Street and the banks and the hedge funds.
But that's what I'm saying, is they're so crazy, reckless, hubris, chutzpah. I mean, what do you call it? They are mad dogs.
Well, this is the way people at these elite institutions get trained. What can I say? I spent 10 years at the University of Chicago and Harvard, and I have 3 degrees from Harvard, went through the same programs that produced Romney and Obama. That's just the way you get trained, and you get brainwashed, and you get co-opted and moved along to do this type of work, for the money bags behind the scenes who are pulling the strings. Behind Obama was Brzezinski. Behind Brzezinski is David Rockefeller. Behind Kissinger is David Rockefeller. Both Brzezinski and Kissinger have been on Rockefeller.
I tell you what, Professor, stay there just a few more minutes on the side if you can, because I want you to finish what you're saying and then talk about ideas for solutions, because they tried to groom you and hire you for all this. You're one of the few people that's been inside their inner sanctums and talked about it. So let's talk about that for as long as you can on the other side. We'll be right back with Professor Francis Boyle. Stay with us. My friends, there are always groups throughout history that want to get control and then want to use the country they've taken over to take over the next country. And there's a method of the madness, because to commit the crimes that tyrants have to commit to get into power, they have to keep expanding and persecuting, or they're going to end up having their enemies come after them or be brought to justice. So these are Ponzi scheme operators, the people like Larry Summers and getting rid of Glass-Steagall and the derivatives, who instead of getting in trouble, well, they're too big to fail, they just take over the whole society. And after the professor leaves us here in about 10 minutes, the articles are pouring in L.A. and in cities all over the U.S. LAPD and special forces conduct military maneuvers in the skies above downtown L.A. And I've been to these drills. They are there over and over again to acclimate the public to military occupation. Now, I'd be called a kook even when I had footage of this, because, oh, that wouldn't happen in America. Now it's like, well, you bet they're here to help deal with domestic extremists. Then you get the domestic extremist documents. Muslim folks who are the beta test, they aren't even on the radar. It's all about gun owners, conservatives, libertarians, anti-war activists, rural groups, especially refuseniks, people that just want to live in the country and be left alone. Oh, look out. You've got to be part of this system. Black market economies, $1 million fines for garage sales, arresting people at lemonade stands. They want you to know that average citizens who aren't criminal types, you're going to be shaken down. You're going to be groped by TSA. It's all here. Now, Dr. Boyle, Professor Boyle, was getting into, in Harvard in the same elite program that Kissinger and all of them came out of, and, being in there with Mitt Romney and the rest of it, and in the same offices afterwards, after Kissinger had left, they were pretty much offering him that job. So he's one of the unique people who was inside of there. And since you're bringing it up, please start over where you talked about who's behind Obama, who's behind Brzezinski, and please continue with giving us a bird's eye view or an inside view on exactly how this servant class, super servant class to the big moneyed interest, how they're exactly brainwashed, what their worldview is.
Right. Well, we know for a fact that Obama's mentor at Columbia was Brzezinski, and then he went to work for a CIA front organization. John Pilger established that. So Obama has been a CIA asset since at least then. Once CIA, always CIA. American foreign policy, starting with 1968, has been controlled and dominated by Kissinger and his protégés on the Republican side, and then starting with the Carter administration on the Democratic side, Brzezinski and his protégés. It's either one group or the other, but they're pretty much the same. It is also a matter of public record that both Brzezinski and Kissinger have been for decades on the payroll of David Rockefeller and the Rockefeller family. And before that, we know that Kissinger is and still is a spook. Army counterintelligence during World War II, and apparently recently he was joking in his latest meeting with Putin that, yes, they were both spooks, Putin, KGB. Once KGB, always KGB. Once CIA, always CIA. As for Brzezinski, he showed up at Harvard 1955-56 to get his Ph.D. During World War II, a good deal of the Harvard faculty joined the OSS to fight the Nazis, which was fine. But they came back, and then they became a primary recruiting ground for the CIA. And the same thing happened at Yale.
And they brought in a ton of Nazis to teach them all their anti-Soviet tricks and basically became what they'd been fighting.
That's exactly what happened. As we know, after World War II, OSS co-opted the Nazi intelligence and many high-level Nazi operatives. There was Operation Paperclip, where large numbers of high-level Nazis were brought in, either by OSS or by Army intelligence here into the United States, or shipped down to Latin America, all on condition that they cooperate with us against the Soviet Union. You're correct.
And it just gets crazier and crazier. So working in and around this, we know the global governance model is a global banking system that basically carries out a eugenics operations against the world. If you were brought into the inner sanctum of this at a higher level, grooming level, why did you break with it? When did you break? I mean, was it a process? How did that happen?
Well, as for the eugenics, we know for a fact, this is a matter of public record, that Kissinger, working for Nixon, adopted a national security directive stating quite clearly that population control, i.e. eugenics, is part of a vital national security interest of the United States of America. And I believe probably since the adoption of that national security directive, that has been U.S. foreign policy around the world on the various problems that we're seeing one way or the other. Well, as for me, I don't know. I was appalled by the Vietnam War, so appalled that I guess at the end of my third year in high school, trying to figure, what contribution I could make, I decided to get the most elite education I possibly could, and then come out and turn it against these people. Back in those days, the Vietnam War, these were the best and the brightest, as Halberstam's book of that name, and those were all the Harvard people, that generation.
And so you were so dedicated to peace and not having imperial wars that you actually made the perfect grades and everything to go and be in the middle of that. Wow, that's dedication.
Yeah, 10 years at the University of Chicago, the home of all the neocons there, where the neocon movement was founded.
What did you do the whole time you were amongst them and, working with Mitt Romney and around all these people? I mean, did you just keep your mouth shut?
No, I argued all the time.
Oh, really?
Sure. I argued all the time with everyone constantly. Right. What could I say?
Well, what did they think of that? Because, I've read these reports and had a lot of historians on. In fact, I've had some of them on, famous lawyers, historians, people like yourself, where, in the 1957, they'd be in a college line at the cafeteria, and David Rockefeller would walk up and recruit them right there. I mean, obviously the elite are big on recruiting people, and I've read a lot of times they think, oh, you're going to argue now, later you'll turn to their dark side.
Regretfully, that happens to a lot of people at Chicago and Harvard, that as time goes on, I could have been one of these people very easily with no problem at all. So, I tell my three sons, I could have had all the power, all the money, and all the fame I wanted, but instead I'm, out there doing what I'm doing now, trying to stand with the poor, oppressed, and downtrodden people of the world, and now our own people.
But that's where the humanity and the strength and the energy and the value is. These globalists with all this petty power and these egomaniacs, they're unhappy. They're in prisons.
Well, I guess psychologically they are. I think maybe some of them. I saw this a lot.